Hello, and thank you for joining us for Coffee Conversations. Coffee Conversations is a part of our Cumberland Family Academy, a Cumberland County Schools initiative that seeks to meet the needs of our families by providing much needed information from some of our school district leadership and staff. With each episode, it is our goal to engage in conversations that are informative, insightful, and encouraging for Cumberland County Schools families. I am Joaquina George, your Cumberland County Schools Family Engagement Specialist, and today our special guest is our 2021 Principal of the Year, Suzanne Owen. Thank you so much for joining us, Suzanne, and congratulations.
Thank you so much. I am so excited, and I am honored to be here with you today.
Thanks. So we're going to go ahead and get started. We know that you have many busy days. Even in the pandemic, you are still working hard. So can you tell us a little bit about you? We know that you are currently the principal at Cliffdale Elementary School, but do you mind sharing your educational journey with us?
I am a Cumberland County girl through and through. I went to Lewis Chapel Junior High School, which is now the middle school. I graduated from Southview High School, so deeply embedded in this community. I went to East Carolina University and found out, to be perfectly honest, in the beginning, college just wasn't for me. So I went off and traveled the country as a nanny for quite some time, but then I came back. And when I came back, I met my husband, and I was in a job that didn't really suit me, and I just love children, which is why I became a nanny. And I was just like, I've always wanted to be a teacher. I've always wanted to be a teacher. So my husband said, you got to go back to school to be a teacher and stop this nonsense. So I went to, at the time, it was Pembroke State University, which was now UNCP. And I got my degree in social studies education. I became a teacher at Terry Sanford High School. And then I went to Grace Creek Middle School for 2 years. They built Grace Creek High School, and I became a teacher at Grace Creek High School. And I had so many leadership roles, and maybe just I'm a little bossy. So I was like, I think I want to be a principal. So I applied for and received the Principal's Fellow for North Carolina. I became a Principal's Fellow. And I went to Fayetteville State University right here again in Fayetteville. And I got my master's degree, and I became the assistant principal with Gwen Hedgepath at Seaway Collier Elementary School. And then I became the principal at Rockfish Elementary School. And then I thought I just needed to spread my wings and fly a little bit. So I said, I think I'm going to try something different. And I went to Wake County because I wanted to learn maybe something different, which I learned a lot of new things in Wake County. But I became very, very homesick. I love Cumberland County schools, and Dr. Conley gave me the opportunity to come back. And now I'm the principal at Cliffdale Elementary School, where I feel as though I am there with a very strong purpose, and I adore my school.
Right. We are glad you came back to us. Good leadership is definitely what is appreciated here in Cumberland County. And thanks to your husband for telling you to go get that teacher certification. That worked out perfectly. So, the question that everyone asks all children, what do you want to be when you grow up? I think that's a trick question. I don't know if I know what I want to be when I grow up yet, and I'm an adult. So did you always know that you wanted to be an educator?
I always knew that I was going to be a teacher. Let me give you an example. I actually grew up in Hampton in Virginia, and we had a tiny little house, and we had what we called a garage, but it was actually a utility room. A car didn't fit in it. But one year for Christmas, my mom bought me this amazing chalkboard and all these different colors of chalk. And my best friend's name was JD, and he came over, and he was supposed to be a student. And he picked up my chalk, and he thought he was going to be the teacher. No, ma'am. He was not the teacher, he was the student. So he had to go home that day because there's only one teacher, and that was me. So I was very, very sure from a very young age that I wanted to teach. And actually, even growing up in the schools, I did a lot of tutoring. I'd have people come over to my house, break the books open, and tutor them in subjects just because I liked being the teacher. I always knew I wanted to be a teacher, never a doubt in my mind.
That's excellent. So, who would you consider, or what would you consider to be your biggest inspiration?
That's a hard one because I'm inspired often and not singularly by one person or even two. Immediately, I would have to say personally in my life, my two biggest inspirations are my mom and dad. My mom is a strong Christian woman who taught me about service and how important it was to put other people ahead of myself. My dad is 84 years old, and my entire life has taught me about grit. You stick with it until you're finished and you don't quit in the middle. And then I have my husband he inspires me every single day. He is a very kind person who is all about service. Again, I adore that. He always puts other people ahead of himself. And actually right now, I think that my biggest inspirations, two specifically, one is my assistant principal. Her name is Hannah Gray. She is working on a podcast that's actually on Apple Podcasts that people can listen to called Equity Now. And she's doing a lot of very important work with equity in the schools. So just listening to her, she's walking through a process. She's learning so many things that are very important right now in not just in education, but in the world. So she's learning so much and sharing it with me. So just listening to her journey, she's very inspirational because she talks everything through, and she has captured my heart. And finally, my teachers right now are a huge inspiration to me because they are going through things that I didn't even know could possibly be imagined, things that I never ever realized that we would go through as a school family. But at Cliffdale Elementary School, my teachers are hearty advocates for children. I just had a meeting today, and I literally told one of my teachers, "You are such an inspiration to me. Thank you so much for sharing that information about this particular child." So I'm inspired often, and it's situational, I guess. I'm very inspired by Dr. Conley, the health concern that he had, and look at the grit he's shown. I'm often inspired by people because I love being lifted up by others.
That's really good. And in this time, being able to identify different things to inspire you or different people to inspire you is vital because there's so much going on in the world. Sometimes it can look kind of bleak. So you're looking for some inspiration, some encouragement to keep going. And so if you're inspired as an administrator, I'm sure that provides inspiration for your teachers, inspiration for your families and your students. So it works as a really good circle when we're all getting a little dose of what we need. Speaking of our teachers and our students and this virtual learning world that we're in, of course, due to COVID-19, we've been in virtual learning for several months now. What have you personally done differently to continue to provide the best educational experience for your students?
I believe that everything happens with purpose. And I truly believe that the one reason I left to go to Wake County was because I very deeply learned a process called MTSS, and it's the multi-tiered systems of support. And it is about the whole child. It is about their social emotional learning. It is about their behavioral learning. It certainly is about their academics, but it is a picture head to toe for a child. And personally, we are working very hard at Cliffdale Elementary School to implement MTSS right now. So every 3 weeks, we're actually having MTSS training so that all my teachers understand equity, not only equity, but they also understand justice. I think that that's really important to make sure that we're not just teaching kids ABCs, 1, 2, 3s, but we're doing work with children that will propel them into a life that will be meaningful and prosperous. And we can't do that by just teaching them stuff in a book, standards. We have to teach them about themselves. So that, I think, personally in this virtual learning environment, it's given me the time to, I'm not going to say slow down, because I have not slowed down, but it has given me the opportunity to hyper focus on some things that I haven't been able to hyper focus on before. And that's kind of my personal journey, is taking all the things that my assistant principal, Hannah Gray, is doing now with equity research and putting that into a whole school program in MTSS, and just building children to be amazing citizens who believe in themselves and believe that anything is possible, and being an advocate, just being a child's advocate. And that's really what personally I'm doing right now at Cliffdale.
That's really good, as you talk about the, learning outside of the book, teaching students different things, helping them to learn about themselves. We're all in a position we didn't know we would ever be in, and helping them, you working with your staff and teaching them ways to engage students and make sure that they receive everything that they need in order to be successful is so vital. So thank you for taking the COVID situation as an opportunity to try some different skills with your staff and your students. So that's really good. That's really good to hear. And of course, because this is a part of our Cumberland Family Academy initiative, I must ask, how vital do you consider the relationship between families and schools?
It's vital. I mean, right now, our parents are our children's teacher assistants. They are sitting beside their children, learning with them. And with the Common Core, we teach much differently than we did when you're much younger than me, but when I was in school, I learned algorithms, and, you just did what your teacher told you to do, and that's how you learned it. It was almost just like drill and kill. So making sure that we have a very wide range of communication with parents. At Cliffdale Elementary School, luckily, we're a full school dojo school. So I'm literally talking to parents at night on my dojo app. I love it. When I got Principal of the Year on Monday night, I got so many parents dojoing me. My phone was blowing up, and it was just so nice to have that very immediate contact with them. So I think that it is vital to make sure that your parents understand that, and your community understands, you are a part of that community. You're not just a person saying, hey, this is the master schedule, this is what we have to do, but we need to know. And in Cumberland County, this is something I'm so proud of. This is one of the reasons I love being in Cumberland County, is we are not just a school, we're a service organization. And I think, kind of going back to the question you just asked me a second ago, COVID and this whole virtual learning is actually not a negative thing. This too shall pass. It will come, it will end. But we have the opportunity now to learn things we've never been able to learn before. And historically, we will look back at this as a pivotal time in education. So making sure that our parents take that journey with us and they understand the whys of what we're doing every day, inviting them into our schools, because right now they're inviting us into their homes. We're walking into their house every single day. So just making sure that our parents feel as though we adore them and that we understand the connection, and that they know that we are blessed to teach their children, is what I think is probably the most important relationship between a parent and a principal, or a school and a community.
And you're definitely at an elementary school. When students get to more of the middle and high school, sometimes they want to be a little bit more independent, and parents are able to take their hands off just a little bit, not completely, but take their hands off just a little bit. But you have a lot of little people, and little people need a lot of big hands to help them work through some things. So yeah, I completely agree with you that parents play a vital role, especially with the little people, especially with the hands-on with the little people. So you mentioned, Monday you were getting the texts and the calls and the reminders and congratulations. What are you most looking forward to in your role as Principal of the Year?
I think it is a gift to be the principal of the year, first of all, because I think that every single leader in Cumberland County Schools could do this job. I'm just the lucky one who had her name mentioned. We have incredible principals who care immensely in Cumberland County. So I think representing them, I'm super excited about. I hope I don't let them down, but just representing them and using my voice to be an advocate for children. And maybe I know that everything happens with purpose because I believe in a purposeful life. And I think that just simply having a voice for children and maybe pushing myself to do something I've never done before, because that's the grit my daddy gave me. You know, I want to learn something new. I believe in failing forward. So if I mess this whole thing up, I learned from it. But I'm just really excited about being a representative for Cumberland County Schools because I love my school system. I've been in this system since 1978. So it just means a lot to me. It means a lot to me.
And we are sure that you're going to do a wonderful job on the next level. We got your back over here.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So are there any last words before we close up? Anything you want to leave with parents before we end?
I want to thank, I guess, all parents in Cumberland, actually all parents in the United States right now. Thank you for being the breadwinner. Thank you for being the mom and the dad. Thank you just for everything you're providing for your children. Thank you for being the teacher assistant, the caregiver, everything that's on your plate right now. Thank you for that. Again, this too shall pass. And I want every single parent in Cumberland County to know we're waiting for your kids. Our classrooms are ready. Our instruction is ready. We love our kids in Cumberland County. I call them my children. I love my children. My teachers love their children. And we are ready for them to come back into the classroom. So when it's time, we're prepared, and we'll let those reins go, and you'll be able to breathe a little easier when we have our babies back in the building. But until then, I just want to make sure everybody knows how we really do believe that we are very blessed to be a part of our children's lives. We know that it is a blessing to enter your home every day. And I just want to say thank you for allowing us to do that.
Thank you. Thank you for that piece for our parents. Thank you for joining us today.
It was a pleasure.
Congratulations again.
Thank you.
And good luck as you compete in the next level. We have your back. Thank you, families, for joining us for another episode of Coffee Conversations. Please keep in mind that our Cumberland Family Academy workshops have started and will continue each week with a different workshop topic. So please check out our course catalog on our Cumberland County Schools website, and also follow us on our Cumberland County Schools social media sites to get our reminders about upcoming workshops so that you can register. Again, thank you for joining us, and remember to join us next time for Coffee Conversations. You bring the coffee and we'll bring the conversation. Have a good day.